And the Weekly Planner is sponsored by MCI WorldCom. We start off the week with the rain and the snow and the colder than average weather on the west coast. We'll end up with a week with that storm moving all the way to the east coast and producing rain and snow and cooler temperatures. And over the weekend, Super Bowl weekend, doesn't look too bad at this point. That started off with the steering flow. And here we are as the Weekly Planner continues, brought to you by MCI WorldCom. And the steering flow dipping down, that's the storm and the cold air loft, which instigated the unusual, the very rare snowfall today in Bakersfield and Fresno. In Bakersfield, the first measurable snowfall in 25 years. That's a long time to go without snow. Now, for those of you in the Northeast and New England, you don't have to go that long without snowfall, certainly. And there is more in the forecast for the weekend as the storm moves east and we get the ridge back into the southwest, so temperatures will warm up and the atmosphere will dry out. Let's check it out now, day at a time. First Tuesday, and as you can see, a lot of action from the Mississippi to the west coast. East coast next couple of days. If you're traveling into New York or Boston or Atlanta Tuesday or Wednesday, you have nothing to worry about weather-wise. Temperatures at or above average and a lot of sunshine. However, on Tuesday, traveling west, that storm will be ejecting out, producing snows for the Intermountain West. The next system coming down the west coast, as we'll show you on the Weather Center at the bottom of the hour, will slide right on the path down the coast as its predecessor. However, we're not expecting any snow this time around in the San Joaquin Valley. Some more showers, though, in Los Angeles for the drive home tomorrow afternoon. And then everything gets booted out. Remember the jet stream diving down and coming back in this direction. So the storm track is over the lakes, at least at this point. So it will warm up along the eastern seaboard. And we'll also see moisture coming out of the Gulf of Mexico. Now, remember the past couple of weeks we've had to deal with very unstable air masses, a very unusual January pattern. 150 tornadoes so far in January. That's more typical of April, and 8 fatalities, or rather 18 fatalities. So it's been a very deadly month, and this is not typical in January, but this has not been a typical flow pattern. And with that southwest flow like that, we'll start to pick up some moisture and some more showers and thunderstorms. Right now, we don't think the system looks as potent as the ones we've seen earlier in January, which produced the deadly tornadoes. Little snow in the Midwest and lake areas. This is all moving northeast, but again, along the coast right now, it looks like mostly a rain event in Boston and New York, but snow for you skiers in northern New England. It's about time we get some good snow in the east after all your friends and neighbors out west have gotten so much snowfall, 7.5 feet in the California Sierra in the past 10 days. Middle America looks good as we wrap up the Friday time frame. Now, as the temperatures go, nothing out of the ordinary for late January. In fact, pretty much a bonus afternoon on Wednesday and Thursday. Look at all the warm weather for the Pope in St. Louis into the 60s, 70s from Dallas to Houston to San Antonio, over towards Tallahassee to Tampa and to Miami and Fort Lauderdale. And then some 80s in Florida, so some great beach weather. Don't forget the sunscreen if you're in town in Miami for the Super Bowl festivities. The weather looks real good until Friday. Maybe some showers Saturday, and then it clears out again on Sunday. That's the timetable right now. Clear skies, dry weather, and mild temperatures for the Super Bowl on Sunday. Here are your Friday highs. Again, nothing sub-zero, teens, 20s. Actually, this is still above average for this part of the country for this time of the year. Check the low temperatures. None of those -20s and -30s we've seen so far since Christmas. We've had a couple of major Arctic outbreaks. Most of us will be, again, in the ballpark or maybe a little bit warmer than average for late January. Which brings us to the weekend outlook, and it's sponsored by Honda. Here you go. Here's the forecast. Saturday's lows, again recapping, and the high temperatures showing the cool down in the east. That's because that cold front is coming on through, and that front will drop the temperatures back to something more seasonable, warming up in the southwest. And the cold air across the lakes, lake effect snow. Get the skis waxed up because there'll be plenty of fresh powder on the slopes in New England by the end of the weekend. Cooler weather with that west to northwest wind. The showers in South Florida out of the way. It should be clear, dry, and temperatures about 70 or so at game time in the Orange Bowl in Miami for the Falcons-Broncos game on Sunday. Next up on Weather Center, another look at the historical record-making snow in California. We'll show you how they dealt with it coming up next after your local weather.
A Southern California snowstorm, the first for some in a quarter of a century. We'll update conditions there now, plus look at the weather across the country just ahead on Weather Center.
This program was sponsored by Honda Environmental.